Make sure.
Thank you for joining us today at OPEA. We have a very special guest to talk about the COLA. Our good friend, Representative Avery Frix from District 13, House District 13, which covers part of McIntosh and Muskogee County. Also a long-term OPEA member, and he also was one of our legislators of the year last year in 2019 for the work he has done for state employees. And we're here to visit with Representative Frix. Welcome to our office today.
Thank you for having me.
And we're going to talk about COLAs. This will be a big issue coming up this next session. Representative Frix had an interim study back in November, and we want to tell him how much we appreciate his hard work on this, because it's been at least a 2 to 3 year project with him, and so hopefully we're kind of maybe coming to some resolution in this issue. But so we're going to ask him a few questions today. Representative Frix, kind of what got you interested in COLAs for the public retirees?
Yeah, really, I heard from a lot of folks in my district, retirees, one in particular, that her retirement check was less than her health insurance every year. And so we saw immediately that was an issue and wanted to help her, and just kept hearing from more and more people in my district that had retired and the struggles that they were facing on that pension system, because it had been over 12 years now since they've received a cost of living adjustment. So we worked with OPEA and others to get that across the board COLA that would be paid for out of those retirement systems, and look forward to getting that across the finish line this year.
Yeah, and I want to kind of expand on that a little bit. We've had some legislators still think it's going to be paid out of the general fund. Can you explain kind of how we got to that point?
You know, one time in our state, our retirement systems were some of the worst funded in the nation. And now we've come a long ways because of sacrifices that our retirees have made, that now we have 2 systems that are over 100% funded. And then most of the systems are between 80 to 100% funded. And then we have 2 that are just slightly under 80 in the 70s. So overall, our systems are really well funded. And in the private sector, they say that 80% funded is a solvent system. And so our systems are doing very well, a lot better than what they did before. And so I think we've come to the point that these systems can now afford to pay for that cost of living adjustment out of the retirement systems. During our interim study, most all of the retirement system directors who's responsible for that retirement system said that retirement system could handle a cost of living adjustment to be paid for out of that system up to 4%. So I'm excited that we can hopefully get this done.
And I know the other day we had a discussion that the actuarial studies that came back from the request on the 4% COLA. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we had an actuarial analysis done, and there's 2, I think, major takeaways as I read them, is that the most it will change the funding ratio of any system is close to 2%, just slightly under 2%. But also, even with a 4% COLA, the upward projectile of the funding ratios of the systems will continue. And so we're not going to set ourselves too far back. We're going to continue to move in the right direction, even with giving the 4% COLA.
And that's just to let everybody know, from OPEA's, our retirement system was 98.7%, almost 99%. And what Representative Frix alluded to, they would move us down to 96.7 roughly for a 4% COLA, and that's our funding ratio. The next question is how did you think the study went last month that we did in November? Well, a month ago, 2 months ago.
I thought it was a great study. We appreciate everyone who showed up. I know we had a lot of retirees and folks that are OPEA members that were there, and so we want to thank you all for showing up for that. The information was great because it was presented by the directors of the retirement systems. They're nonpartisan. They're not advocating for one way or another. Their whole job is just to run that retirement system, and they gave us kind of an update and a progress on where those retirement systems are at. And I think that really helped the members understand how well the retirement systems are doing, and that they can sustain this COLA.
And what's interesting, I know one of the systems actually showed on the people on that committee how much money was generated into their local house district off his retirement benefits. I know you have some information about how much money is generated in 2019 just for payments for retirees.
Yeah, I mean, we have approximately 113,810 retirees that are part of the public pension system for 2019. And so total, it's over a $2 billion economic impact here in our state, and so very excited about that.
Yeah, so along those lines, 4% COLA, I know you had some information about, would be about another $800 million would be infused in the local economy. For
Absolutely.
the state of Oklahoma. I mean, that's huge, $2.3 billion
Right.
for retirees that spend their money in their local areas. And what I found interesting about that is when we were talking is, like the OPEA system, 96% of the money paid out by OPERS stayed in the state of Oklahoma.
Right.
Yeah, and every system was 90% or higher stayed in the state. I mean, that's huge. That's a huge economic impact to the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah, it truly is, and it's every zip code in the state is going to be impacted by it, and so I think it's something that would be incredibly positive. I mean, these folks that are now receiving the pension have given their entire career to the state of Oklahoma or to police or teachers or firefighters. They've dedicated their career to that profession, and so now it's time that we give back to them, and we know that when we give back to them, they're going to in turn spend that money in the local economy, and it's going to be a positive impact for our local communities and our state.
And you kind of mentioned firefighters, and a lot of people may not understand this, is firefighters and some of the like troopers, they do not receive Social Security benefits.
Right.
And so the retirement is the only avenue they have as far as when they retire.
Right, yeah.
So, even if a COLA is granted this session, do you see any other things we need to change in the process going forward to, I know this is the way you've got it structured, this is a 4% COLA for one time, and I know we've talked about other ways to make it like have triggers or some sort of market-based adjustments going forward.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, when OPEA was put into effect, with the state legislature passed that back over about 10, 11 years ago now, one of the things that they did was they said you can't grant a COLA unless you have a way to pay for it. And so our bills that we've run, we've had to say we're going to pay for it out of the retirement systems. And that really doesn't conform with OPEA. We had to kind of do an exception to the OPEA rules. I think we need to modernize OPEA a little bit. And allow, when systems are doing well, to be able to pay for that COLA out of the system. Now, if you have a system that is performing very poorly, if we ever go back to where we were before, of course if we're going to give a COLA, we need to pay for it. But when we get to a point where systems are doing well, I think we can pay for that out of the system. So we've got to update OPEA, I think, a little bit. And then going forward, I think some triggers or something in place to allow the legislature to look at when a system hits a certain point, well then maybe that triggers an action by the legislature or something along those lines, because it's been 12 years and our these systems have improved greatly, but going forward, let's not wait another 12 years to do this
Right.
again.
And from our standpoint, we want to protect OPERS, our retirement system, and we don't want to do anything to jeopardize that long term.
Sure.
But at the same time, there's the steps that was taken several years ago have made us to get us to this point at 98.7% funded. So we're excited about looking forward. This is the first step in the right direction on that. Kind of tell everybody kind of what the next steps would be going in the session. I know you've got the bill. You're in the process of preparing the bill.
Yeah.
Kind of give everybody the bill number.
Should be filing this week a new bill to do the 4% COLA, and the idea is to run that through the House. It passed out of the House last time with almost a unanimous vote. I think we only had about 2 or 3 no votes on it out of 101 members, so that was very positive. And so the plan is to pass that again out of the House and then send it on over to the Senate, and hopefully they will pass it as well, and we can send it to the governor's desk and get it going. Like I said, we'll have to put an exception in there to OPEA. There's some talk about maybe amending OPEA overall. Maybe that's a better way to go, but I think that really the ball falls in the Senate's court because the House did pass it last year, and so we can see that the House does support this. The Senate hasn't yet taken a vote on it, and so I think that will be where everybody's looking this next session.
And the good thing, I hate to say this, the good thing is it's election year for all the House members, half of the Senate. So I know we don't like saying that, but unfortunately that's kind of where we're at on some of you. In the House, guys, you got to understand, with Representative Frix's leadership, like I said, it was like 98-3 for this COLA last year. So the House is on board, and they did an interim study. I don't think the Senate ever did one, but you did have some senators there that did an interim study that were very interested. So kind of along those lines, what would you tell our members and people listening, if you would benefit from this COLA, what should you do at this point as far as contacting your House or Senate members?
Yeah, well, I definitely urge you to contact your House and Senate members and develop that relationship with them. And I think one of the things that helps me the most is when I can hear those personal stories of people who live in my district and how COLA or whatever legislation we're considering would impact their lives on a daily basis. I know that means a lot. So definitely reach out and don't be afraid to. I mean, you can call their offices, but also try to reach out to them locally. Most everyone, has a presence in their district, and so try to reach out to them directly and have that personal connection.
And let me ask you, we talked a little bit about the economic impact statewide. Does that really raise the significance for a legislator, House or Senate member, if that you have it, say, hey, look, Representative Frix, this is how much money is generated in your district?
Yeah, I think, making it specific to a district or a county where somebody represents is absolutely critical, and them to really, it was eye-opening for me to see the breakdown by zip code of how many dollars are going into my district through the COLA, and I think it will be for other representatives and senators.
Yeah, it was eye-opening. I did not really realize it until just OPEA was that small component, and then we started looking at the other systems, and I mean, it's phenomenal too. Like I said earlier, $2.4 billion. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's a huge economic engine in the state of Oklahoma. Well, Representative Frix, we appreciate you being here today, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you more during this session goes along. And we appreciate you being an OPEA member and helping state employees, and we'll kind of let you close if you like. And anything you want to add?
Thank you for having me, and thank you all for your advocacy, and I appreciate what you do in your service to our state, and look forward to working with you in partnership this next session.
Thank you, Representative Frix. Thank you.
Appreciate it.